Rams are excellent. I'll give them that. They also had a game at home where they had 4 interceptions and would have lost with a long field goal at the end. Like I don't. The Rams are very, very good. They could have been number one. But what have the Eagles really done to not be number one? This is the Super Bowl champs. They've had one really bad game. That Giants game was miserable, but you know what? By now everybody's had a bad game. The Rams losing to the 49ers JV team at home wasn't exactly covering themselves in glory that day. So, and if I remember right, let me think about this. I think we do have a head-to-head result between these teams. I can't remember who won that game, but I'm pretty sure it was the Eagles.
That's ancient history, Frank.
Ancient history.
Ancient history. That was like
Ron Jaworski was playing in that game. Yeah, Jaworski versus Jim
Everett.
Yeah, like
we were still using Roman numerals at that
Crazy Legs Hurst was running around. What are we doing here?
Played the leather helmet. Chuck Bednarik had a big game. Yeah, it was the Eagles. The Eagles have done my whole thing here is that the Eagles have done nothing to lose the top spot. Now the Lane Johnson injury worries me because the Eagles are a different team without him. They're going to be without him for 4 to 6 weeks. They could slip here, but the fact that they play in the NFC East does help them a lot here because who's challenging them in the NFC East? Like they're not losing to the Cowboys or the Giants or the Commanders. So I'm keeping the Eagles number one. I'm saying staying strong. The champions remain number one.
The Steelers beat the Colts. Any consideration of putting the Steelers in at number 3? I'm just being a jerk now. I'm just
Dolphins beat the
so
Bills.
Mad after last night. Fitz woke up salty after that Raiders game. I could tell you that.
He is a jaded man this morning, but let's see if you did anything right with these next 4, Frank. We'll see. 5 through 8, we have the Broncos, the Patriots, the Lions, and the Bills. I will give you credit, Frank. I do give credit where credit is due. I don't hate these, but I do want to pick your brain about the differentiating factors between the Broncos, the Patriots, the Lions, and the Bills. How did we land on 5 through 8?
Yeah, I do want that, by the way. You know, when you get the movie reviews, I don't hate this too much. Caroline Fenton, Yahoo Sports.
I don't hate it.
I need that. I need that on my power rankings every week. It seriously would work. Okay, the Broncos. Look, I think the Broncos are to the point of just being kind of the most disrespected team in the NFL. This is a 9-2 team, and all anybody does is pick them apart. Every week it's, Bo Nix this, the offense that. They beat the Eagles, my number one team, on the road. There are only 2 losses. I'm going to say this every single week. Only 2 losses for the Denver Broncos all season. No time left on the clock at the Indianapolis Colts, who we all love. No time left on the clock at the Los Angeles Chargers, who are a playoff team. What more do the Broncos need to do? They just win games. I know some of them have been ugly. I get it. Some of them have been miracles like the Giants game. But they're a 9-2 team with some quality wins. They just beat the Chiefs. I think they deserve this spot. I think a lot of people would have the Patriots ahead of them, but the Patriots have had a much softer schedule. Like, that is a thing. Like, the Patriots have legitimized everything. I'm not saying they're bad or anything like that, but the Patriots' schedule has been so soft. I honestly didn't know what to do with the Lions. The Lions were one of my toughest teams on the board. I just looked at them, and I moved them around. I just, when they look bad, they look really, really bad. Like, they look bad on Sunday night, the offense especially, and all this stuff about Jared Goff can't play outside and the weather. That kind of is all true. Like, sometimes these cliches are true. And so, but I just stuck them at 7 because I still believe the Lions somewhere deep down, they're a good team and they're going to be one of those teams in January that could make a run. But yeah, the Lions were probably the toughest team this week for me. I just didn't know what to do with them.
If the playoffs started today, would you actually trust the Broncos and the Patriots more than you trust the Bills? I'm not faulting your rankings. I'm just asking that question.
No, I think yes, because we've seen over and over this Bills defense is kind of broken. And unless Josh Allen is Superman, which he could be at 6 touchdowns on Sunday, the Bills are kind of this a more flawed team than we're letting on. Like, they got blasted by the Dolphins. They got blasted by the Falcons. Like, the Broncos don't have anything like that on their resume. The Broncos defense, without Surtain and Alex Singleton, by the way, on Sunday, played really well against the Chiefs. That's the unit where it's just not getting enough respect. We spend so much time talking about offense. Well, what about the Broncos defense? That might be the best defense in football. They keep them in every single game. Sean Payton's a great coach. So if it was Bills at Broncos, who would I pick? I'd pick the Broncos. I'd pick the Broncos over the Bills, even in a playoff setting.
It is wild where we've gotten. I'm stunned at your restraint, Frank. We haven't seen the Ravens yet, but I'm sure that'll change now.
I tried.
Let's get that. I know. We all know. We're like, how? That's our weekly question every Sunday night. We're like, how do you think Frank's going to put the Ravens this week? We got the answer to that. We'll pull up the next grouping here as we go 9 through 12. You got the Packers up at 9. A free fall for the Chiefs, down 5 spots. The Ravens stay put at 11. The Bears inch up at 12. Why such a drastic drop for the Chiefs?
Yeah, and it's not like the loss was bad. A last-second loss at Denver is not bad, but at some point, you're a 5-loss team, and some of these teams that I do have ranked ahead of them just deserve the respect of being ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs they're just such an interesting team. Odds makers still have not given up on them, by the way. The third best odds to win a Super Bowl at BetMGM, and I know a lot goes into that the books don't want to put up Chiefs 20-1 and get deluged with bets, right? Like that is part of it. They don't necessarily think the Chiefs are the third best team, but I think that is the conundrum with the Chiefs. We all know if they could just get in the playoffs, nobody's going to want to face them. Nobody at all. You don't want to face the Chiefs, who have lost 0 games of more than 7 points this year. Every single loss is a close loss. We've all talked about how their luck in close games has just swung the other way. The Chiefs were an issue for me, moving them down that low after a loss that's really not that bad. I respect the Broncos. It's a team that's won 11 straight home games. You lost on the last play. So, but I try. And by the way, trust me, I tried to get the Ravens in the top 8. I had some versions of the power rankings yesterday where I was like, let me just put them like 5th or 6th and see what people say. And then I said, no, they did almost lose to the Browns on Sunday. I gotta hold back at least a couple weeks, but it's coming. There's going to be one Tuesday where all 3 of us are talking and you guys are like, what are you doing putting the Ravens at 3 or something like that? Because I truly do believe in this Ravens team.
I admire your restraint, Frank. I really do.
I held back.
I do want to go back to the Chiefs for a second because you bring up all of their losses or close losses, and that is fair. But so many of their wins last year were close wins, undefeated in one-score games last year. Now they haven't won a single one-score game this year. Is the magic gone? Does that concern you about the longevity of this Chiefs team? How do we diagnose what's wrong with the Chiefs?
I think most of it is just bad luck. Just like last year, a lot of it was good luck. I'm not one of these people sitting here saying, yes, the Chiefs create their own. No, the shotgun snap bounces off Aiden O'Connell's chest. Sorry, Fitz. That's just not something you cook up in a meeting on a Wednesday, right? Like that just is luck. Yeah. Like that happens. But it just I just think that there's something a little off about the Chiefs. Like this isn't the strongest Chiefs team we've seen. Like Rashee Rice comes back and Xavier Worthy completely disappears. Rashee Rice is not even doing that much either. He's catching a lot of passes for not many yards, and they have no running game to speak. There's a lot of the Chiefs' problems are not getting explosive plays, and I think that just adds up over time. Like you're kind of always constantly playing from behind because you don't have any quick scores. You don't have anybody that could just take it and go to the house with it. So you're constantly in these close games, and then you're just not able to close the door at the end. And a lot of that, again, is just kind of bad luck. Like you can't expect a team with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid to be 0-5 in close games, but there's some things lacking with the Chiefs right now. Look, it's very reasonable if you want to say the Chiefs aren't making the playoffs. Like, okay, I get it. Like a lot of the projections with whether it's DVOA or the Athletic or whatever, have them a little bit better than 50% to make the playoffs. And I think the most stunning, shocking story of the NFL season is we're sitting here, Thanksgiving's coming up, and we're like, the Chiefs might reasonably miss the playoffs altogether. Nobody had that. Nobody figured that. Like, maybe you don't win the AFC West, but you get a wild card. We're going to be crazy and pick the Broncos to win the AFC West. I don't think anybody had the Chiefs missing the playoffs altogether.
It's a wild world we live in, but let's pull up our next group of teams, 13 through 16. We have the San Francisco 49ers with a slight bump. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers down 1 spot after losing to the Bills. The Jags up 4 spots. Chargers down 4 spots. Jags just absolutely obliterated the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, wow.
Why 1 spot above the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, I had to get the Jaguars above the Chargers. That's one of the reasons for it. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I still think the Chargers are probably the better team on most days, but they weren't on Sunday, so you can't have them ahead of them. The Chargers got absolutely run in that game, and it is worrisome. Like, you look at that Chargers team, and we know the flaws, and the main flaw is the offensive line. And I just watched Justin Herbert over and over and over just get blasted. Like he was taking some massive hits, and you just wonder how long it's got to take a toll on him. He doesn't have Omari and Hampton to hand the ball to. Kamani Vidal, their replacement running back, has been really up and down. Like some games he's awesome, some games he provides no help whatsoever. The defense, which has been really, really good, even they were giving up stuff to Trevor Lawrence, which you really can't do. I don't know what to make of the Jaguars. I was high on them before the season. I've really soured on them. But then you look at this game and you say, wow, 35-6 against a really quality Chargers team. The Jaguars are another team. I don't know what to do with them. I don't think the Jaguars are that good. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think the Chiefs make it ahead of them. But you got to give them some respect after you just absolutely tear apart a really quality Chargers team like they did.
You've got Go ahead, Caroline.
If we were to put a label on these four teams, I think the label would be trust issues, like consistently inconsistent. Of these four, who's the most reliable of this bunch?
I think it's the Buccaneers. And I you'd want to say the 49ers, but my goodness, the 49ers can't stop anybody. Like they gave up, I think, 488 yards against the Cardinals, who didn't have Kyler Murray, James Conner, or Marvin Harrison Jr. They can't stop anybody. Now their schedule sets up where they're probably going to be 10-4. Like if you look at their schedule, you're like, yeah, they're really not going to lose any of these games coming up. So I think Kyle Shanahan's doing a great job with them. But overall, I don't trust them to be a factor in January because your defense is that bad. The Buccaneers, by the way, they've had kind of a weird season. They've not had a bad loss all season. You look at 6-4 and you say, well, okay, that's not very good. But you look at their losses and it's teams like the Eagles. The Chiefs beat them, I believe. And it just teams that you're like, yeah, the Buccaneers should lose to these teams. And they play at the Rams on Sunday, another game they're probably going to lose. So they're going to be 6-5 without a bad loss. It's kind of weird. But the Buccaneers schedule gets really soft after that. They could win every single game the rest of the way. Their toughest game the rest of the way is the Carolina Panthers, I still don't have a ton of respect for, even though they're coming off a win.
Yeah, no, they come up in your next group. Let's pull up the next four. Yeah, there's no respect here for the Carolina Panthers. None. They go up 1. They get a win. They go up 1. All right. And then the Texans, who I'm not sure have an offense at all at this point, the Texans only fall 2. What are we doing here? Like, Frank, this whole block right here feels like the Steelers suck. The Texans offense sucks. The Vikings suck. Like, and you got the Panthers just buried in the middle of it. Like, what are we doing to Carolina?
Carolina just lost. Carolina. They just lost at home to the New Orleans Saints. Like, we can't forget that. Like, I know we play.
The Bills just lost to the Dolphins, Frank.
I know, that's true. That's true.
We should put New Orleans ahead of Carolina. Head to head.
We should put the Raiders ahead of the Patriots. Who knows? Like, I don't know, but yes,
Thank you.
I can't. The Panthers had a really, really nice win. I thought Bryce Young played one of his best games as a pro. Tet McMillan, I know he doesn't like being called Tet, but I can't pronounce his first name, had the best game of his career at Atlanta. So I'll give the Panthers this. They're hanging around to the point where if they could beat the 49ers on Sunday, and the 49ers defense will allow them to stay in that game, and the Buccaneers lose to the Rams, the Panthers are first place in the NFC South. Like, I don't think that'll hold, but the Panthers are just one of those teams that just – the Bears too. They're just hanging around and they're hanging around. It's like, are we ever going to get to the point where the Panthers fall off? And maybe the answer is no. Maybe they're just one of those teams that just kind of has they just know how to win some of these close games and stay in the race all year.
All right, let's pull up this next group of teams. 21 through 24. We got the Dallas Cowboys fresh off of a win on Monday Night Football. So sorry, Fitzy. We have the Dolphins up 4 spots. Good for the Dolphins. The Bengals and the Cardinals. We talked about this yesterday. And look, I only a couple of weeks ago was talking about blow everything up in Miami, fire everybody, trade everybody, move on from everything and everyone. This team is broken, but don't look now. They've won 2 in a row after selling at the deadline. How much credit are we giving to Mike McDaniel for keeping this ship on the straight and narrow?
A ton. And, I tried thinking yesterday off the top of my head about coaches who basically have like 1 3/4 feet out the door and they somehow save their job. It almost never happens. So one that comes to mind is Ron Rivera with the Carolina Panthers way back in the day. He was done. And then the Riverboat Ron thing happened and he had a nice run in Carolina after that. And I wonder if Mike McDaniel's doing something similar because they've won 3 of 4 and with some good wins. Like they blasted the Falcons. They blasted the Bills. They didn't look great against Commanders, but you win a weird game in Spain. Like, okay, that's fine. You're right. I thought, and like I said on Inside Coverage yesterday, part of our job covering the NFL is to talk about the hot seat. Like it's just the way of the NFL. You're going to see a quarter of the league change over its coaches just about every year. And yes, Mike McDaniel a few weeks ago looked like dead man walking. Like he's not going to make the rest of the season. Now, and if you look at the Dolphins schedule, they have some winnable games coming up. They could get to like 6-7. Like all of a sudden, you're like, they're kind of in the playoff race. I give Mike McDaniel a ton of credit. I thought this team was going to be one of those 2-15. Mike McDaniel gets fired right after Thanksgiving, like something. I don't think that anymore. I think McDaniel's done enough to at least get the rest of the season, and then you reevaluate. And the answer might be, let's give Mike another year and see what happens. Let's see if he could do what Ron Rivera did so many years ago in Carolina.
Yeah, are you in for that plan if it's Mike and Tua next year? Like, would you be in for if the Dolphins go on a run? Are you in for running it back?
I don't love it, but I don't think they got a lot of other options either. Like, okay, move on from Tua. That's great. Who's your quarterback? Like, I mean, it's not easy always. You might end up with Justin Fields. It's not always easy going in that quarterback carousel.
I just appreciate that you didn't say Geno. Let's get to the next. Stop it. Let's get to the next grouping. The Falcons, the Commanders, the Giants, the Browns. The Browns move up one in this situation. They get themselves out of the last bracket, so that feels like that's an accomplishment. The Falcons free fall 4 spots. We were talking. You mentioned the hot seat. Would you put Raheem on the hot seat in Atlanta?
Yep. You got to. I mean, I know the Falcons didn't expect a Super Bowl this year or anything, but they definitely expected better than what they've seen. Look, bad teams find ways to lose games, and they found another way to lose a game on Sunday. And eventually you just say, this is a 3-7 football team that expected to compete for the division. Like at some point, somebody's got to pay the price for that. And I don't dislike Raheem in any way, but this is going to be his third lose, unless Kirk Cousins somehow saves him, and that ain't going to happen if you watch Kirk Cousins play lately. It's going to be his third losing season in 3 tries with Atlanta, and at some point you just say, what are we doing here? Are we getting any better? I think the answer has to be no. They've taken a step back this year, and I think Raheem is definitely on the hot seat here, because you could just see a situation where they end up losing 5 of their last 7 games, and that record is going to look really ugly at the end of the year for a team that had legitimate hopes of beating the Buccaneers for this division.
I just want Carolina world where Arthur Blank makes Kirk Cousins work holiday shifts at Home Depot just to get us $100 million. Yeah. It's like, you know what? I paid you for something, and it's not for the football. So get out there and help us during the holidays. We got lots of tools to sell.
Earn your keep. What about Kevin Stefanski? I know he's won 11 games in 2 seasons, but in the years that he didn't win double-digit seasons, it's been 3 wins, 7 wins. They have 2 wins right now. Is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat?
Yes, but I don't think he should be. But NFL coaches they fire coaches without really thinking, is this our guy or not? Which sounds weird. They just react. They react to, well, we had another losing season. We got to fire the coach. And I don't think that Kevin Stefanski is holding them back. I don't think this is some 9-win team that Kevin Stefanski is coaching into the ground. I think Kevin Stefanski is a pretty good coach. I don't think the Browns' next coach is going to be better than Kevin Stefanski, especially when you're like, okay, here, our future is Dylan Gabriel. Like, oh, you're not selling a lot of candidates on that. But there's just been so much noise, and Browns fans want him gone. And I just think Jimmy Haslam's a pretty bad owner, and he's just going to react and fire a guy who's a pretty good coach, who's going to do better in his next job, because it's going to be a better situation than the Browns, unless the Jets somehow hire him. But I just think that I don't think it's Kevin Stefanski's fault, but he's probably going to pay the price for it.
Not a whole lot of hope in these last 4 either. Round out the bottom 4 of the league. There's a whole lot of bad in this league. The Jets, the Saints. We can skip past 31. The Titans at 32.
Wait a second. You guys ask me the questions. Now I need to ask Fitz a question. Please. Pete Carroll back yes or no?
No. And we talked about this earlier,
right?
I'll say this clearly. Like, I don't think it's squarely on Pete Carroll. I just don't think that the timelines match to do a massive rebuild, and that's what you're up against. Look, Chip Kelly certainly deserves to be fired. Fire Chip Kelly, fire everybody. Yeah, Tom Brady, you can't fire a minority owner, but I'd argue that he deserves something, considering he's the one that hand selected so many of these things, including Geno. Like, Pete didn't necessarily pick Geno. That was all like Tom picked Geno. So, like, look, there's enough blame to go around. But, yeah, I don't think you can bring, a 4,322-year-old coach back to start a rebuild, because it's going to take 5 or 6 years.
And that was kind of the case before even when they hired him, we talked about it. And it was like,
you're right.
I like Pete a lot. Like, Pete has a really good case for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, a good case for the College Football Hall of Fame too. And but it didn't make sense because you're hiring the oldest coach in NFL history when your ceiling is still last place in the AFC West. Like, I get it. They wanted to make themselves more competitive right now, build a culture. I think it's worse. This team looks less competitive to me than it did with Antonio Pierce's coach, which is unbelievable to me. But it's bad right now. And I don't see how you bring back Pete. I just don't, because again, if he was 10 years younger, you'd say, well, give him some time. He's done this in Seattle. Well, he doesn't have time now.
Yeah, find your next quarterback and let that new head coach pick the quarterback. And then those two will be joined at the hip in the future. As much as I do love to crap on you, Frank, and on all of these teams, of those last 4 teams, the Jets, the Saints, the Raiders, the Titans, I will take a glass half full approach and say which team in the depths of the drudges of the league should have the most hope.
Oh, I think by default it's the Saints because they've at least looked a little feisty. I can't say the Jets because they're the Jets and they're still owned by Woody Johnson, although they have a ton of draft picks. Let's not screw this up, Jets, for once. I think the Titans are, man, they're bad. If the Titans had not won that game at Arizona, which was one of the flukiest wins you're ever going to see in the NFL, they somehow avoided a weekly talk of, is this the worst team in NFL history? They're that bad. Like, they would go 0-7. I don't believe the Titans are winning another game. Like, they're so bad. Like, but they won the one game. Nobody remembers the one-loss teams throughout NFL history. Everybody remembers the winless teams. So they avoided that just by that fluky win at Arizona. And then, like we talked about with the Raiders, it's like, oh, I don't even know where you go with this. Like, they kind of had this not all in, but like, let's win, let's improve now at least moment of, we're going to draft a running back 6 and we're going to make Chip Kelly the highest paid coordinator ever. We're going to hire the oldest coach in NFL history. We're going to go trade for a 35-year-old quarterback, and they're worse. Like, how could I pick them as the one with the hope out of this 4? So I guess the Saints, I don't know.
Frank, can I give you a fun fact?
Please do, my friend.
The Raiders moved to Oakland in 1995. Since moving to Oakland in 1995, not including Pete Carroll, they've had 11 head coaches that did not coach more than 2 seasons. 11 times. Since 1995, they've had 11 coaches that didn't get to a 3rd season. So if Pete Carroll becomes the 12th, there we go. Like, come on. That's
when Pete Carroll becomes the 12th.
Yeah. Mark Davis paying like 5 coaches now, you know.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Frank, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm sad now, but I was happy in the beginning.
I'm sorry,
I hope
Fitz.
next week we can finally see a result that puts the Rams where they belong, at the top of the power rankings. But you're always at the top of our power rankings every single week, Frank. We love you. We appreciate you coming on every week, letting us badger you.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, Frank.
Read it on Yahoo Sports. There you see it right there. The Eagles number 1, the Titans number 32, the Jags and the Dolphins both rising 4, and the Chiefs, the biggest faller, down 5 spots. That is a big fall. I think we saw a little bit. Like, I love that Frank coming out basically saying, hey, no matter what we think the Chiefs are, this is what they've actually been so far, Caroline. I like that sort of a move for Kansas City.
Look, it's deserved. We can give the Kansas City Chiefs as much benefit of the doubt as we want to, but at some point you have to start delivering on the BOD that we give you. And the Chiefs have not been delivering on that. It was a clunker against the Bills, and they weren't able to make that late game magic happen against the Broncos this past week, so they deserve to free fall that much. And look, the Jags and the Dolphins, with wins that they've gotten over the last couple of weeks, they deserve to go up 4. The Tennessee Titans are dreadful. They're miserable. They're absolutely terrible. They deserve to be the 32nd team in Frank's power rankings. Look, the Eagles aren't undeserving of the top spot. I don't think it is crazy cuckoo to have the Eagles number 1 in power rankings because they haven't done anything. They won the Super Bowl last year. I just think at some point we have to start separating Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles versus Philadelphia Eagles that we see this year. I think the Rams have been a better team, but it's not like the Eagles are undeserving.